The story begins in recollection, with an unnamed narrator looking back at a formative period of her youth. She opens with the line, "You knew I'd write a book about you someday." The statement, addressed to a man from her past, is not a romantic flourish but a confession, a declaration that this story will be told through her memory, not his. She admits that he might have told it differently, but this is her version, her truth. The first scene returns to the beginning, a college classroom, a seminar on 17th century literature. The professor, a theatrical and opinionated man, holds up 2 sheets of neon orange paper and announces that, despite their vulgar packaging, he feels compelled to read one aloud. The essay, written on leftover Halloween cardstock, belongs to the narrator, a senior English major who finished the assignment in haste. The professor's dramatic reading, equal parts mockery and admiration, turns her last-minute paper into a performance piece. As she watches, half embarrassed and half thrilled, 2 students in the front row draw her attention, one with copper-colored hair, the other with a black ponytail. They seem to dominate the room, effortlessly confident, the professor's clear favorites. When the paper is returned, both men turn around to see where it lands. From that moment, something begins. Over the next few classes, the copper-haired one, Sam, gradually migrates backward through the rows until he sits beside her. Proximity leads to conversation. Conversation grows into an unspoken friendship. Sam begins walking her to another class she's taking, a modern furniture lecture she only joined because it wasn't full. Unlike the small, intimate literature seminar, modern furniture is a large, dim auditorium course where students can easily disappear into the crowd. The narrator often drifts off during slideshows of Bauhaus designs and Le Corbusier chairs. Yet Sam's quiet presence changes everything. He is serious and reserved, speaking in measured bursts that seem deliberate and considered. Their early exchanges stay within the realm of academics. He criticizes their professor's superficial treatment of Cromwell's influence on 17th century writers. She agrees, though she barely understands what he means. Later, she looks up Cromwell and the Rump Parliament in secret, determined to keep up with his intellect. When she next makes a clever joke about it in class, Sam's rare, soundless laugh feels like a reward, a small victory that deepens her fascination. Their connection grows through shared silences and subtle gestures rather than open declarations. Then one day Sam invites her to a film screening at the Student Union, The Deer Hunter. He has already bought her ticket. The makeshift theater is filled with metal folding chairs, and her roommate Carson sits ahead of them with her soldier boyfriend, the two tangled together as the brutal film unfolds. By the final scene, the narrator feels stunned and strangely altered. Sam, without a word, gets up and walks out. She follows him. He leads her across the quiet campus to a white fenced house. It belongs to Dr. Gastrell, a formidable professor of medieval literature known among students as Gastric for his intimidating presence. Gastrell is away on sabbatical at Oxford, and Sam, along with his friend Yash, the black-haired student from class, has been entrusted to look after the house. Inside, the space feels old and saturated with academic prestige. Shelves of leather-bound books, navy walls, striped upholstery, the faint scent of pipe smoke lingering in the air. The narrator feels both flattered and uneasy to be allowed into this world. They share an awkward beer on the couch, pauses stretch between them, charged with unspoken attraction but still fragile. Then the door bursts open. Yash stumbles in, talking loudly about his failed date and filling the house with laughter and chaos. His charisma breaks the tension. The three share jokes until Yash retreats upstairs. When he's gone, the silence returns and Sam finally kisses her. By Monday, the rhythm of student life resumes. After class, Sam invites her for lunch at the house. They eat turkey sandwiches, kiss again, and she leaves feeling dizzy with excitement. She can't believe the absurd thrill of kissing in a professor's living room at midday, as if they've stepped out of time. The story pauses to reveal more about her past. She's had one serious boyfriend before, Jay, her first lover, a volatile and possessive boy who taught her about desire and dominance in equal measure. Their relationship ended dramatically on an airplane after spring break, an argument so loud it drew the attention of strangers. Since then, her encounters have been fleeting and unserious. Sam, by contrast, feels meaningful, steadier, more thoughtful, though his restraint sometimes unnerves her. When Sam invites her to dinner, she expects a romantic evening. Instead, she walks into a scene of disarray: pizza boxes, open books, half-drunk bottles of wine. Alongside Sam and Yash is another friend, Ivan, a red-haired eccentric with sharp humor and an encyclopedic memory. He recognizes her from a freshman mixer years earlier, recalling her red dress with black buttons. His uncanny recollection unsettles her. The night evolves into a kind of intellectual salon, filled with debate, teasing, and cheap Riesling poured into delicate china cups. The conversation circles literature, Joyce, Milton, modernism, religion. The narrator feels both fascinated and out of her depth. She realizes that these men move within a rarefied circle: honors students, teaching assistants, proteges of professors. She, though capable, has always remained outside that world. From another college, she thinks, not literally but socially. When they turn to the subject of creative writing, she mentions she's in the advanced fiction workshop. Yash laughs, calling fiction sentimental and self-indulgent. Sam quietly defends her, and the exchange feels like a test she's both passed and failed. Ivan, amused, nicknames her Jordan, after Jordan Baker from The Great Gatsby. The name sticks, pulling her deeper into their orbit. Later they play cards hearts, and she wins spectacularly to the men's amusement. Ivan teases Sam, time to show her your etchings. The old cliché lands half as a joke, half as provocation. Sam, embarrassed but compliant, invites her upstairs. In the dim light of the second floor there are no etchings, instead they fall into each other's arms. The moment builds quickly until when she reaches for his belt, Sam stops her. He mutters something that sounds like no. Confused, embarrassed, and hurt, she dresses and tries to leave, certain the others downstairs are laughing about it. Sam stops her, pleads with her to stay. They end up lying together, clothed and quiet, until he falls asleep beside her. In the morning, she wakes early and wanders the hallway. One door reveals Yash asleep in a room overflowing with books, another leads to the bathroom. When she returns, Sam is awake and they share a tender kiss, but the unresolved tension still hangs in the air. On his bedside table she notices a small collection of religious books, the Confessions of St. Augustine, Mere Christianity. The sight changes her understanding of him. Sam's restraint is not indifference but conviction. He is devout, possibly celibate. The discovery shifts the emotional ground beneath them. Downstairs, breakfast unfolds in strained politeness. Sam busies himself with cooking while she, unsure of her place, perches awkwardly at the counter. The kitchen, like the house, bears the clutter of borrowed authority, mismatched dishes, unopened mail, half-clean pans. Sam explains that he and Yash have been living there since Gastrel's sabbatical began. Yash was Gastrel's research assistant, Ivan his mentee. Sam insists Gastrel is simply generous, but the narrator senses an insular network of favoritism, a world of privilege and mentorship she has never been part of. Yash bursts in mid-breakfast, loud and teasing, instantly dissolving the tension. He jokes about their sleepover, replaces the ketchup with spicy sauces, and launches into gossip about Sam's past. Through his chatter, the narrator learns more than Sam would have told her himself about his devout family, his rebellion against them, and a former girlfriend named Valerie Hayes who once fainted at brunch after smelling coffee. Yash's stories, though playful, leave the narrator uneasy. She realizes how little she knows about Sam, even after the intimacy they've shared. The conversation turns clumsy. Sam grows quiet, embarrassed by Yash's loose tongue. The narrator laughs too loudly, pretending comfort. Beneath the surface, jealousy, affection, and confusion twist together. She senses that Yash enjoys his role as provocateur, testing the boundaries between them. Finally, she excuses herself, claiming she needs to study. Sam follows her upstairs, ostensibly to say goodbye. At the bedroom door, the tension between them breaks. They kiss, no longer cautious, no longer polite. He presses her against the wall and moves down her body with reverence and hunger. When she gasps, he smiles faintly. There are some advantages to abstention, he murmurs. She asks, half playful, half serious, if he's really never had sex. He doesn't answer. She begins to unbutton his jeans. This time he doesn't stop her. The moment blurs between desire and hesitation, ending in the half-fulfilled intimacy she later describes only as everything but. The phrase, she remembers, is one she learned in high school, a euphemism for doing almost everything that isn't technically sex. The scene closes not with resolution but with ambiguity, a sense that something irreversible has begun. What started as an academic friendship has turned into a relationship built on imbalance, between experience and innocence, intellect and emotion, memory and the unspoken. As the older narrator recalls these events, her tone is tender but unsparing. She understands now what she couldn't then, that she was being initiated not only into adulthood but into the politics of intimacy. Who is allowed to belong, who is permitted to tell the story. Sam, Yash, Ivan, all part of a small, closed world of brilliance and ego had drawn her in, but she would be the one to turn their lives into words. Her orange paper, once dismissed as vulgar packaging, becomes a metaphor for her authorship, raw, unpolished, but entirely her own. In remembering that winter, the classroom, the house, the laughter, the restraint, the touch that stopped and then didn't, she reclaims it. What once felt like confusion becomes narrative. What once belonged to them becomes hers. And so the story ends as it began, with the act of telling. The book she promised to write has become real. Whether Sam would have recognized himself in these pages or denied her version altogether no longer matters. This is her memory, her truth, and the story she always knew she would one day write. The scene closes not with resolution but with ambiguity, a sense that something irreversible has begun. What started as an academic friendship has turned into a relationship built on imbalance, between experience and innocence, intellect and emotion, memory and the unspoken. As the older narrator recalls these events, her tone is tender but unsparing. She understands now what she couldn't then, that she was being initiated not only into adulthood but into the politics of intimacy. Who is allowed to belong, who is permitted to tell the story. Sam Yash, Ivan, all part of a small, closed world of brilliance and ego had drawn her in, but she would be the one to turn their lives into words. Her orange paper, once dismissed as vulgar packaging, becomes a metaphor for her authorship, raw, unpolished, but entirely her own. In remembering that winter, the classroom, the house, the laughter, the restraint, the touch that stopped and then didn't, she reclaims it. What once felt like confusion becomes narrative, what once belonged to them becomes hers. And so the story ends as it began, with the act of telling. The book she promised to write has become real. Whether Sam would have recognized himself in these pages or denied her version altogether no longer matters. This is her memory, her truth, and the story she always knew she would one day write.